Welcome back. You're listening to Vibrant Living with Vayu Yoga. I'm Wendy Hassenpflug.
And I'm Shannon Levy-heath.
And this is your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Today we talked about the very first two segments, the law of non-resistance. And now we're going to move into a little bit about embracing change. So here's the thing. Change is really the only inevitable aspect of life. It is a part of every aspect of life. And a part of change is that we really need to learn how to let go of what no longer serves us. And we talked about that a little bit in the last segment, or Lenny did rather. Feeling angry and bitter is far worse than feeling lost and empty for a little while. Change can be difficult, but enduring a period of pain is really the path to turning things around. And sometimes a new dream or a new concept or a new chapter in life, a new direction can actually be found in the most unexpected places, which is also something we talked about in, sometimes the other side of that coin or the other side of something is the better side, and we just didn't realize it. And that's really what starting over is all about. And so when I think about what's happening kind of with us right now, because as I mentioned in the last segment, this is our last show for Vibrant Living.
Yes.
And this is also the second to last week of my studio being open in Old Town New Hall, Vayu Yoga. We're closing on May 22nd. And what's happening for me is that I'm learning to diversify my ideas of success. And what I mean by that, and we're talking about embracing change, is so I have 2 college degrees. I come from a family that we have doctors and educators, and I want to just throw out the word titles behind our names, right? Mm-hmm. We have, all of those titles, and the more titles and initials you can put behind your name, and the more certifications and the more degrees, whatever that means. But I was brought up thinking that this is what it's all about. The more titles you have, the more initials behind your name, the more what?
You're supposed to be an alphabet kid,
right? right.
That's what my dad used to call it.
Yeah, right. And when you become that, then of course the expectation is the more money you're going to make and the happier you're going to be. But what we're learning nowadays is that's not necessarily what really happens in life. And things are changing. And this is really a different economy, a new economy. And it really isn't necessarily in that order. In fact, I would say it might be in reverse order. So if we look at that in reverse, happiness being the first thing, and doing things in your life that you find happiness from within first.
Right.
And not externally, and not expecting, well, if and when I do this and this and this, then I'll be happy. But choosing happiness first. And then from there, those other things can start to come into play for you, but it's not because of those things. So achieving your dream shouldn't be about sacrifice and pain. Instead, it should be about daily joy.
Joy.
Yes.
Finding joy.
Exactly. And what you do every day is what your life becomes about. Focusing on enjoying every day is going to actually lead you to that next big dream that's right for you. And so, when people are asking me, well, what's going on with your life? Where are you going next? What's your next, what's going on? And my answer is, I don't know.
See.
We'll see. Exactly.
We'll see.
I know I'm going to continue to help people, like Lenny said, free them from financial pain, from physical pain, from emotional pain in some way. But where that starts with right now is me. And I'm going to free myself from those things first so that I really understand what it means for me to not only be happy, but to be healthy in every aspect of my life and continue this transformation that I started last August for myself to really understand who am I, and that's not something that I've learned in my years of college. That's not something that I've learned in my careers, although I'm sure that all played a big part in it because everything did happen for me and for you, right?
Not to us, but for us.
Exactly. But the cool thing is that, I know that what I'm doing for myself and putting myself first is going to lead me to that next big dream.
It's putting the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help the other person.
Right, which I've had that backwards for the majority of my life. And that's one thing that I've learned. Yes. And I don't think it's just me. If you're relating to what I'm saying,
not.
It's, especially women, we nurture others and we can care for others so well. That's a wonderful thing that we as women have the innate ability to do. However, I don't personally think it's brave to put others in front of ourselves Because if we don't take care of ourselves, who's going to do that for us?
Well, and we will have nothing left to give to others.
That's the point. That's the point. And so when people ask, what's going on right now and how are you embracing this change? Well, that's how I'm embracing it. I've been giving to others my whole life, from being the oldest in my family to teaching high school for 10 years, to teaching college for 8 years, to owning my studio and having clients for the last 8 years, to, you know what? I'm going to take away those titles out of my name for right now. I'm going to take away the idea of having to say, what do you do for a living? You know what? I'm focusing on me. And I can't wait to explain to people when they ask me, what do you do for a living? Well, let's talk. Let's go out for a tea and I'll tell you what I'm doing right now.
What an incredible journey.
Right. The journey matters more than the destination.
Right.
That when I worked for the Disney Institute, that was their motto. And
really?
I've always loved that. The journey matters more than the destination. And I've taught that for many years.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of become my motto as well. Yeah. That one and the other one that when I was a personal trainer at Spectrum, we each had to come up with a bio and our picture and so forth and our motto, right? So I'm like, wow, how do you come up with a personal motto? How do you not borrow that from somebody that's already out there? And so I came up with the motto of truly live your life. Don't just simply exist. And that too has become not only a motto that I helped my clients with, right, for all those years, but became my motto in the way that I'm living my life and have lived my life. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, Shan?
I'm just thinking about breathe, live, renew as the motto for Vayu Yoga. And having shared that for the last 2 years as part of my personal journey and how much that's meant to me.
Very nice. Yes. Wow. There's another motto I'll add to my list. That yes, the motto that I created for my studio was breathe, live, renew. Absolutely. I love it. So, in embracing change, again, if it's something that is going to happen inevitably in our life, then why resist it? So that goes back to our law of non-resistance. Give into it and let that change happen, and not just let it happen, but embrace it.
Let it wash over you.
Yeah.
I loved Lenny's analogy of the resistance to water. Water doesn't resist.
Right.
It just lets it flows over the rocks and around and finds the path of least resistance.
Exactly. So you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. C.S. Lewis. So we've been talking today about the law of non-resistance. We're going to talk a little bit more about the connection of embracing change and the law of non-resistance in our next segment when we come back. And we're going to wrap it up for this segment. I'm Wendy Hassenpflug, and you're listening to Vibrant Living with Vayu Yoga on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to Vibrant Living with Vayu Yoga. I'm Wendy Hassenpflug.
And I'm Shannon Levy-heath.
On your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We've been talking today about the law of non-resistance, one of the universal laws, and about embracing change. And I really want to kind of just touch on each of the main topics that we spoke about today. Of course, our podcasts are always available to go back and listen if you missed. But I just want to, what resonated with each of us today, and just kind of touch on those. So LNR, as my coach, Lenny Evans, referred to the law of non-resistance, states that what we resist persists and becomes an agreement with the resistance.
That's
so when
important.
you give in to the things that you're resisting, right, and you fight back to that and you're struggling, then you're giving energy to that. You're giving so much energy to it that it's going to keep coming back to you. Exactly what you don't want is going to come back to you. And then Shannon, talk a little bit about reacting versus responding.
Well, when we're in that mode, it's sort of fight or flight response, and we don't think about what we're doing. So in order to respond, a thought process is required. And when we're responding rather than reacting, it's a much more productive way to live our lives.
Nice, absolutely. And Bob Proctor, if you're wanting to know more about the law of non-resistance, Bob Proctor has a wonderful short video on YouTube about it. But one of the things that he brought up that really made sense with what you just said, Shannon, and reacting and responding is, think about martial arts, and karate is about reacting, right? That's about actually resisting and reacting.
Blow for blow.
Correct. Whereas Aikido is the complete opposite from that. Aikido is all about the law of non-resistance, right? So the idea is to not, react to one another. Okay, so another thought that came to mind that really resonated with us today on the law of non-resistance is be the co-creator of your journey and take back your creatorship. So as I said, the journey matters more than the destination. You've got to take ownership and co-create things as they go. And things happen for us, not to us. And as you said, Shannon, that's come up in just about every single one of our shows.
I think so, over and over again.
But there's so many times that things happen in our life, and when we're talking to somebody else about it, we say, "You'll never believe what happened to me."
Right.
And just that statement right there shows that we're not taking ownership of it. We're a victim.
Being victims.
Right. So changing our words to change our actions, to change our lives, to be the change that we want to be in our life.
Placing our focus where it's healthiest
Right.
for us.
And where it's deserved, not just
Yes.
needed. Yeah. And then Lenny brought up, find the message in the mess. And
I love that
and then
so much.
be a hot messenger, not a hot mess. Yeah. So really figuring out what the message is from what's happening. Because, and I taught this yesterday when I was teaching the law of non-resistance in classes yesterday at the yoga studio. I was saying, the cool thing about when things happen in your life that you don't like is that they're there and that resistance came up to show you, guess what? You're changing. Yes. You're doing something outside of your normal comfort zone and there's resistance. And that's awesome because that just showed you that, all right, you're stepping outside.
Okay, and I'm going to change the trajectory of my life.
Yeah. So, and then how about the idea of your mind as an iceberg? Shannon, you want to touch on that?
I love that analogy. That the mind is an iceberg. The unconscious mind is what goes on and on and on underneath the water. And that the conscious mind is just that tip. So understand that our conscious mind is just the tip of our iceberg. That means we have infinite possibilities within our minds if we allow it to happen and if we allow some of those thoughts to come to fruition.
What comes to mind when you say that, Shannon, is how when you hear a song on the radio that when you hear it, you can sing along with it. But if you were to just try to sing it on your own, you're like, I kind of know the melody, but I don't remember the words at all. That's a part of our unconscious mind, right? We have not put it in our conscious mind. We have not studied enough to make it our forefront thoughts. So what if the things that we're listening to on a regular basis are things that we really want to become and bring into our life, and that becomes our unconscious thoughts, are the things that we really want.
Right.
Just something to think about.
The infinite iceberg.
Right. So the other concept of that the idea of lack in our life is a lie, and abundance is the truth.
That's very powerful. That's a powerful statement that probably bears repeating. So why don't you?
Yeah. Lack, meaning scarcity, in any form whatsoever, is a lie. It's when we're told that, when we think that, when we believe that, it's a lie. The truth is all about abundance of every sort. So don't deny your limiting beliefs. Honor them and then release them. So when we talk about the law of non-resistance, it's not that you're just ignoring them, that you're denying them. It's that you are honoring them, saying, I see that. I honor that you've brought that to my attention, but guess what? You no longer serve me. I don't need that limiting belief, so I'm going to let you go. And truth is really that all the answers lie inside of us, which is exactly what Lenny Evans has been so wonderful in teaching not only me, but my husband and so many thousands of people around the world, truly, that everything that we need, every truth, every ounce of abundance lies within us. And all that is possible for anybody is possible for me. That's actually part of what our homework is right now, and in our 2 seconds that we set a little timer, and that's what we say to ourselves, replacing those unconscious thoughts with all that is possible for anyone is possible for me. I mean, how simple is that to just think? And if you gave yourself a whole minute out of every hour, you set a timer, and for a whole minute, that's all you said, either out loud or in your mind for a whole minute. And then you go about what you're doing for the rest of the hour, and then you set that timer, the timer goes off again, and all that is possible for anyone is possible for me.
I love that.
Shannon, all that is possible for anyone is possible for you.
Absolutely.
Justin, anything
Yeah.
is possible for anyone and is possible for you.
We got 2 thumbs up from
You know, it feels good to substitute your name and
Yeah.
hear somebody else say that to
Yeah.
you. And sometimes people, we believe it more when somebody else says it to us.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I believe. It's not that we believe it more when we hear it from somebody else. It's that ignited from within us and we believe in ourselves more because somebody else recognized it in us.
It's
you
an
know?
affirmation.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had this moving experience in an event a few months ago with another one of my coaches, a personal coach, Jeffrey Combs. And he, of the 50 people in the room, was helping me answer some questions and so forth. And for some reason, I was so concerned with how I was supposed to answer him that I started just all of this anxiety built up inside of me. And I felt like I had swelled up and was carrying all this extra water weight and was just like carrying the weight of my shoulders. And all of a sudden, I started to cry a little bit and let it go. And I was just like, okay, now I'm embarrassed because there's 50 people in here and he's asking me questions, but now I'm crying. And, you know, like when you're in church and you start to giggle and you know you're not supposed to and you're trying to, you know, so I'm like crying, but I'm trying not to snort, you know, and I'm trying to get myself together. Well, about 10 minutes later, he stops what he's doing and says, Wendy, you're a changed woman. You look like you have dropped 10 pounds of water weight off of your shoulders and your body and you're completely changed.
Wow.
And I just went, really? And I didn't mean really, like I didn't understand him. I meant, really, you saw that? You recognized that in me? You know? And that's what I'm saying. We have it all inside of us. So, that was a lot. That was deep. So let's go into, so in my studio, Vayu Yoga, as I said, our last day of classes will be May 22nd, which is not this Friday, but next Friday. We are located on 8th Street and Main Street in Old Town Newhall. So if you haven't been in, we are the only studio in Santa Clarita that offers aerial yoga. We are the original premier aerial yoga studio. Vayu Yoga is my trademark technique that I created. And so if you haven't done it yet, now's your time because there's still some classes. We also do yoga wall as well and Pilates. So come see us. We also have some items for sale, including an aerial yoga rig and Pilates and studio and office furniture and all kinds of stuff still for sale. So call us for details at 661-222-9262 or visit us on the web. My web address is Vayu Yoga, VAYUyoga.com. I want to thank you for listening today. I want to thank Cherry and Carl Goldman for giving us the opportunity.
Indeed.
And you, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been our honor to host this show, and I was going to do this without crying.
It's okay.
So thank you so much. Podcasts for our shows are available on my website and on hometownstation.com. You've been listening to Vibrant Living with Vayu Yoga. I'm Wendy Hassenpflug on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.